Hello and welcome. We're going to talk about Chapter 1 of X-Wing Wedge's Gamble again. And let me go to page 3 here. Because there's something that irks me in a lot of fiction when we get numbers thrown at us. And if you think about the numbers a little bit, things start to fall apart. Now the ship in question here is supposed to be some kind of freighter. It's not as big as the big bulk freighter. It's described as being a quarter of the size of the big bulk freighter. Now if this is what like cargo is being transported around in the Star Wars universe on, I don't see how anybody makes any money. This ship is described as being 150 meters long with a crew of 400 and a carrying capacity of tonnage of... Oh, somewhere in here, it said 1,500 tons, and I don't know where that was. Well, I should have flagged it, shouldn't I? Oh, here it is. It shipped roughly 1,500 metric tons of equipment, ran with a crew of 400, and had 9 quad lasers. Now, of course, if you've got weapons, you're going to need some crew to man those weapons. A 400 for a commercial vessel is gigantic. As a point of comparison, I asked the internet what a cargo ship crew typically consists of, and the brave search here fed me back 20 to 30 people, although smaller ships may have as few as 8. Now you're like, okay, but that's got to be a little tiny freighter, right? No. A typical commercial vessel, depending on what waters it's going to go through, you're looking at 20,000s of dry weight tonnage to hundreds of thousands of dry weight tonnage with the same crew. This is a preposterously large crew, which means this cargo that they're carrying, these 1,500 tons, had better be the most valuable stuff in the universe. Like, you know, if this was Star Trek, I'd be like, they better be carrying dilithium crystals or something. These numbers don't make a lick of sense. That is not enough tonnage for a vessel this big with that much crew. Like, I see why they don't have a lot of tonnage spent on actual cargo, because most of it's going towards the crew. Now, as a comparison, I did just like go take a look at like a warship here. So I looked up, what's the Iowa class look like? And it's 270 meters long, so it's about twice as long. It's probably, I don't know. We're not described like what the beam of this thing is or the height, except that it narrows and it gets real slender. No wonder they're not carrying any valuables in this ship. But when you start like really thinking about the numbers people give you, stuff stops making sense. We should just not have been told what the cargo capacity was. Because unless this ship is built like a little needle, right? Unless this thing is like literally just like, whee, with a little flared, you know, thing for the engines, like something like this. Whee, you know, something goofy like that. There's no way that this, with this much crew, makes sense for a commercial vessel. You know, an Iowa class is like that, and he's like big and scary. He's got a conning tower. He's got big gun turrets. Boom, boom, boom. You should go watch go see a picture of those things firing. It's amazing. Now the Iowa class does have a whole lot more crew, but it's also a warship. That crew means that there's replacements on board. It's got a huge maintenance crew. There's a marine contingent. And it carries 10,000 tons of equipment in that frame. So if you half the size, right, then you're still carrying way more tonnage than this supposed freighter. I don't know, dude. This, when I was reading this, I didn't mention in the last video, but this did kind of take me out of the story a little bit, because I'm like, that seems preposterously small. With a preposterously large amount of crew. Like, that's not going to fly. You're not going to make any money unless the only cargoes you move are very valuable. And I remember playing like TIE Fighter and stuff. The ships that you were like hitting were not necessarily carrying like amazing cargoes. It'd be like, go shoot the grain shipment, you know? I don't know. That's like my one gripe out of that first chapter. And somehow I managed to turn that into like 5 minutes of talking. I don't know. You all take care of yourselves. But I really feel like writers, when they are presenting things, should only give you the bare minimum facts to understand what's going on. An example of a mistake of this type comes from, well, Star Trek's probably got a lot of examples, but there's one particular episode where in Next Generation they show up at a planet, a weird alien ship shows up and it like shoots them with like a 10-watt laser, then a 10 kilowatt laser, then a 10 megawatt laser, and it keeps escalating until the Enterprise actually takes damage. We never should have been told those wattages, because now we have some kind of measure of the shields, and they have to make all their numbers make sense. Don't give us numbers if they're not going to make sense, because people whose brains are like, oh, I must calculate things, are going to see those numbers and go, that don't make no sense. And now you've taken them out of the story, and they're going to make videos like this on the internet and tell people this don't make no sense. Anyway, you all take care of yourselves. You have a great one. Hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.